The controversial redevelopment of Sydney's Allianz Stadium is in tatters, with builder Lend-Lease dumped from the project. It knocked the stadium down but told the New South Wales government it could not build a new facility for the $729 million on offer. Joining us now to talk about the massive implications this has on the NRL is rugby league writer with the Daily Telegraph, Tom Sangster. Tom, thanks for your time this afternoon. Let's leave politics aside for the moment. Where does the NRL go from here, and what happens to the Sydney Roosters in particular?
Well, it's definitely huge for the Roosters. There's panic stations at the NRL, I can confirm that, but the Roosters particularly so because essentially their home stadium, and they're the only club in the competition to use Allianz as their home stadium, is essentially a pile of rubble right now. But not only that, but their headquarters were demolished during the demolition of the stadium. So their headquarters are now a bunch of demountables out the back of Allianz Stadium. So you've got essentially one of the richest clubs in sport in Australia, backed by one of the richest men in Australia, in Nick Politis, and they're being forced to work out of a bunch of demountables out the back of Fox Studios in Moore Park. So it's not an ideal situation for them, and obviously they would be pretty sensitive to any delay in the process.
Tom, there's already talk that the 2021 Grand Final will have to be held in Brisbane.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the NRL's in a real pickle here because they're missing two major stadiums in ANZ Stadium, which is getting redeveloped as well, and Allianz Stadium for at least 1.5 years. It could be longer than that if there are delays in this, given that we've got these recent developments. So they're going to have to move some big games. They've already had to move the Grand Final for 2020 to the SCG, which is right next door to Allianz. They also, my mail is they're going to have to move an Origin match from the 2022 Origin match from Allianz probably to the SCG as well, which would be absolutely huge. That's if the development gets delayed by about 6 months, which is what Lend-Lease was saying. And then the other thing is that Brisbane could end up with a grand final, which is a huge backflip from the NRL, given that they announced only a few months ago that the grand final would stay in Sydney until 2045. They gave a 25-year extension. Looks like that could be in doubt, and Brisbane is the obvious candidate to host a grand final, given that they've got a great stadium there in Suncorp Stadium, and they're the heartland of rugby league.
So, Tom, why are Lend-Lease and the New South Wales government having problems here, especially considering the development built the new Bank West Stadium for just $360 million, and fans are raving about it?
Yeah, so Bankwest has been a massive success from an outsider looking in. It looks like it's been a huge success. The fans love it. It was delivered on time within budget. The issue with the deal here is that Lend-Lease only originally got signed for the demolition. They weren't actually signed to build the stadium back again. So they've come back with their new deal late last week. It was about $70 million more than what the government was expecting. It was also 6 months later on delivery time than what the government was expecting. So the government has just said, this is not good enough. We're going to put it out to tender again. And there's still the chance that Lend-Lease may deliver a tender and they may end up with the deal. Obviously, it'd be a heavily renegotiated deal, though.
I could imagine. So, Tom, where to now? Will Sydney be left with this massive hole in the ground at Moore Park, or will the New South Wales government just have to come up with more money for the project?
Well, look, it's too big a deal for the government. It's basically a signature policy for the Berejiklian government during the last election. So you'd think they just have to fix this up pretty quick, smart. Obviously, the NRL are hanging on what's going to happen. The Roosters are hanging on what's going to happen. But it's too big a deal to let this slide. The deal is out to tender now, so they'll be getting tenders in soon. And as I said, Lend-Lease, even though they don't have the deal at the moment, they could end up with the deal in the end.